In his high school years, John B. O'Donnell attended Augusta Military Academy at Fort Defiance, Virginia, and from 1924 to 1928 the University of North Carolina, graduating in 1928 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Banking and Finance. According to Matthew M. Peake, Military Collection Archivist for the state of North Carolina, in June 1942 O'Donnell applied to the Officers' Training School. Initially he was sent for induction into the Army at Fort Bragg and was assigned to the Quartermaster School at Camp Lee, Virginia. After completing his training, he was appointed second lieutenant and assigned to the Quartermaster section of the 14th Port of Embarkation at Camp Hathaway in Vancouver, Washington. During World War II, the Transportation Corps produced its own guide featuring their role in the U.S. Army called Destination Berlin. According to O'Donnell's own personal copy, the sole reason for the existence of the Transportation Corps was to carry to the fighting man at the front what he needs. If we do that, says the booklet, we will have accomplished our mission. Prior to D-Day, that job fell into three classes: movement of men and material to the United Kingdom, within the United Kingdom, and out of the United Kingdom. Without the loads from the ships, the booklet says, there would be no battle of the beaches. Battles depend on ammunition, food, and POL, petrol, oil, and lubricants. On July the 8th, 1943, the 14th Port travelled to the European theatre, arriving in England on July the 15th, 1943. O'Donnell was soon promoted to first lieutenant, and there followed an indication of what was to come when he was assigned to a refresher school for officers entitled Outloading School, conducted at Southampton. He was assigned to the 14th Port of Embarkation at Southampton, which was the chief supply and troop movement centre for the U.S. Army. During his stay, like most GIs, he took the opportunity for some sightseeing in London, and he enjoyed a Sunday dinner at the Army Officers' Mess in the Grosvenor Hotel before moving down Park Lane and onto Oxford Street and London Bridge. While supply movement plans and procedures were developed, the Transportation Corps devised several special expedients for delivering essential equipment and material across the Channel. Among these was the use of converted Liberty ships as motor transport vessels to carry trucks and drivers to Normandy. Under the supervision of the 14th Port, American and Canadian personnel cooperated in building huge rafts similar to those employed to float lumber on the Columbia River in the Pacific Northwest, and consisting of large bundles of wooden poles and piling bound together by cables. They were to be towed across the Channel and landed on the far shore for the use of the engineers and Signal Corps construction teams. The embarkation machinery was set in motion in late April 1944, when forces were marshalled to participate in the last amphibious exercises. The loading of the assault and follow-up forces began at the end of May. Aside from the 5th and 8th Divisions, which were embarked from Northern Ireland in late June and early July, and the 9th Armoured Group, which loaded at Swansea in the Bristol Channel area, the bulk of the normal build-up forces moved through the southern base section, with Southampton and its sub-ports playing the major role in outloading. Although Southampton had suffered badly in 1940, it was still a sound port when, against the advice of the British High Command, the US Army chose it as the springboard for the liberation of Europe. The port not only benefited from long quaysides from which Patton's Third Army can be seen loading, and cruise liners still used today, but specially constructed hards where tanks could be loaded directly onto landing craft, and from which troops also left for Omaha Beach. O'Donnell supervised the receipt, storage and issue of general supplies within the Army units at Southampton, and remained stationed at the Southampton Port of Embarkation throughout 1945, with an office in the town hall called the Civic Centre. He eventually received orders to return to the US to the reception station at Fort Bragg for processing out of active military service, and departed England on November the 19th, 1945. Attached to Southampton Civic Centre is a plaque. Between D-Day, June the 6th, and the end of hostilities, orders were issued from here directing the embarkation of the American armies, who together with their allies sailed from Southampton docks to liberate Europe. During the operation, over 2.25 million troops, 250,000 vehicles, and millions of tons of supplies of the U.S. Army were shipped through this port.